This is my live SQL query view, and if you go into it after being logged on, if you want to get a copy of it, you hit fork this view. So you click fork this view, and you should change the name into something that you will recognize, as this will sit on your dashboard. So for this exercise we call it PCC, and the line that you're interested in this big block of code is actually down on line 66, the source scraper. And this is the name of the scraper, so you will see it appear in the URL after the last slash. At the moment it is PCC Decisions Mark 3, but you would want to change that to look at any other scraper that's sitting in ScraperWiki. It doesn't need to be your scraper, you don't have to have the scraper sitting on your dashboard, and you do not need to have written it. Once every data is saved into a data store in ScraperWiki, a view can look at it and call it all the data that's actually in that particular scraper. So a view is very different to a scraper. It does not have any data, it does not scrape the web. But what you can do is you can build things using code like maps, like graphs, or in this case a league table, where that view will update whenever the scraper is updated. So I have to make a change to it, so I'm going to put the 3 back in, and once I hit save, it will appear on my dashboard as PCC. So once it is saved, I don't need to look at the code, I just need to look at the view. And this test card will appear before ScraperWiki runs again and takes an image of what you're looking at, but the code will always be useful and appear once you hit view as full page. And this is what the tool, the SQL query view, actually does, is it gives you a little window that can be manipulated into the data store of a particular scraper. So with the select star means everything, and limit 10, so it's giving me a sample of 10 entries in the data store. This box here is a summary of the data store that's written by the original scraper. So SWA data is the name of the table, and this is a standard that is given when you don't give a table name in ScraperWiki, and it stands for ScraperWiki data. It gives me the number of rows, and again, that's the table name. After the table name, it is giving me all the headings that appear in the data store with what type of entry appears in the row. So this gives me all of them, but with the original view, when I go into it, it will give me a sample of the top 10. So for the point of this exercise, we are looking for the publications from the PCC that have a complaint. So every time there is a complaint, a publication is listed. So what I'm definitely looking for is the publication. So if with my cursor in select, if I hit publication in the yellow box, that will appear in select. Now this I can put in as it is. If it was a long name that had spaces in it, I would have to use backticks, and I'll show you what a backtick is here. It's that little thing there. It's not a single quotation mark, but it has to surround the heading name in backticks if it does contain a space, and that is particular to SQL. Another thing that's particular to SQL that is not necessarily annoying but is very, very handy is that I can generate information that isn't particularly listed in the data set. What do I mean by that? I can count how many times a publication appears and use that as a figure to appear in my table below with this tool. So all I need to do is type in count, open round brackets, and put in publication. So I want publication, I want how many times it appears. But for my league table, I have to group by publication. I want each publication that is unique, its name, to appear once, and the count to be grouped by that publication. I also want a top 10 of it, so I want to order it by the amount of times it appears, which is the count of the publication. And DESC stands for descending. So that's going to give me the top 10 in descending order, and you can see when I run SQL query, it goes the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Daily Mirror, and so on, and it gives me these figures, which isn't actually in the original dataset, but SQL can calculate that from rows and rows and rows of data. Now, this is temporary because this is a view, and I'll show you if I go back and come back in, it goes to the original. But for this exercise, I wanted also a little challenge to look, instead of making a query of the publications that have complained, looking at the top 10 complainants, the people who are complaining. And that's very simple because instead of publication, we just want the complainant name. So I put complainant name, and I want to count it. I want to group by the complainant name. I want to order by its count. And then I hit Run SQL Query View, and you can see the list of the top 10 complainants and how many times they have appeared. So this is just a tool for journalists to see what is their headline, what is the most interesting. Rather than a sea of data, a lot of the times you're looking for the top 10. So this is a way to get the top 10, but to look at different ways of seeing the top 10 of what. And once you've decided that this is what is interesting, you would want to make a permanent view of that league table, which will be the next step. We have to make that because if you see, I go back out, and if I go back in, this is going to give me the original that's in the actual code. This is a tool that you can plug in, but it doesn't remember anything. So the next step is to make a live league table that will change every time the scraper is updated.